Hello, I'm here with Virgin Radio, ahead of the Oasis reunion tour this year, interviewing those connected to or inspired by the band. Today I'm joined by James Allan from the band Glasvegas. James, how are you getting on?
Good, good. How are you? You all right?
I'm very good, thanks. Yeah, excited to chat. How are Glasvegas getting on these days?
Aye, good. Just making just finishing writing a new album, and then we'll be beginning to record it shortly.
Oh, so you've
Um,
already started the process.
aye.
Normally it takes a little bit longer for Glasvegas to sort of, you know,
I know,
do their full
I know.
creative
We're trying to
process.
do it a wee bit quicker this time. I know.
Well, James, I'm going to bring it right back to the start, just to sort of go through your career, and then we'll touch on sort of new music coming soon. I want to go right back to the start because a lot of people won't know watching this that you were a professional footballer
Aye,
back in Scotland back in the day.
aye.
You've lived every little boy's dream of being a rock star and a footballer. How did you transition from football into music?
Well, I'd been trying like very young. Just football was everything, and like going through school and all that, I just wanted to play football, and then I signed professional. So I've been trying to do that all the way along, and then signed professional, and then saw Oasis on the TV, and then scrapped all that and wanted to do something different.
So football just became something that you were doing as your job, but you had absolutely no interest in it.
Uh, I know it was one of the ones that I think that with football or music or it's it's quite a difficult thing that if you're like sort of a dip your toe into one thing, especially with football and music, I think they kind of demand it's everything. I don't think you can do just the both of them together. I tried, um, but it was quite difficult to do that. I mean, there's probably quite a lot I could actually compare with music, football. I mean, some of the characters you meet along the way, um, it's quite cool. You know what I mean? But I think you've got to be all in with football, or you know, if you're in any of the arts, you know what I mean, music or whatever. I think there's no point just messing about, like trying to do both of the things. You know what I mean?
So talk to us through, you've decided that you've seen Oasis on the TV and you want to become a rock star, you want to do music full time. Talk to us about how you left football behind and became a songwriter and how Glasvegas started to form from that.
Just as a side professional, then I think at that point it was my cousin got a guitar and Rab, and I never knew he got a guitar, and I got a guitar as well. Um, and it was really just I went to his house one day, and it was just like I told him I'd been playing the guitar, and he said the same, and that was we were like let's be in a band, but we need songs to be in a band, and we need a name to be in a band, because if we get a name, then that's us. We're like a real band, you know what I mean? And so then I suggested Las Vegas, and I was quite surprised that he actually liked it and he thought it was good. So we kind of stuck with that. But I remember when I went to his house to watch him playing, like maybe a few weeks later, and I thought it would be quite good to show him like maybe a song that I'd learned or whatever. And he was playing like all the Pink Floyd solos and stuff like that. And I remember just being shocked at that. I was like, how can he do that? And because I can't do that. And then we got the same amplifier, and his sounded a lot better than mine. It was the same amplifier, and I remember thinking, mine's must be broke. This mine's must be broke. And then we got another amplifier later that was the same amplifier, and his sounded better. And I thought, mine's must be broke. And then through my arrogance and ignorance, then it suddenly became clear that he was much better than me and much more natural than me. Anybody else would have worked that out straight away, but it took me like a few years and two amplifiers to realise that he was much better than me in the guitar. Uh, that's how it really came about, and he's never really been that interested in writing music or songs or whatever. So And it was when I look at it, it's quite a shocking thing that I'm a songwriter. Um, I don't read books or anything like that, and I'm meant to write the words. Um, I thought I hated music all my life. Um, I didn't want to sing in front of anybody either. It had all the makings there, like something that was not really going to work out.
You start writing these songs, and these songs, especially on Glasvegas' first album, it's characters, it's stories, it's social problems as well that are discussed on the first album. Was it travelling by bus from town to town, city to city in Scotland that gave you little snapshots that you wanted to then write about?
No, it was when I was starting to write songs for the band. I just thought we were going to have songs like cigarettes and alcohol. I thought that was what I wanted. Um, but I just didn't have a clue about what happens when you pick up a guitar and then you go into sort of some kind of like daydream or whatever, and you just that's sort of like a vehicle that you would end up your personality, your fears, your the things that you want, the things that you don't want. You know what I mean? The things that you hope for, the things that you dread. That all comes through when you pick the guitar up. I never knew that. I just thought it was more like you can choose what personality you want to be, but it wasn't like that, and I never knew that. I think that a lot of the songs, it's like uh, it feels like it's an enterprise you don't really command. It's like you don't get to like pick what kind of uh, things that it normally just comes quite naturally. You know what I mean?
So no singular event inspired the likes of Geraldine or Daddy's
Oh,
Gone. It
aye,
was
aye. Oh, definitely. They
all right.
did. They did. Sorry, I probably misunderstood the question there, but it's like, I, they totally did. Uh, Geraldine, for example, my sister was a social worker at the time, and she was starting to manage the band. Um, and it was through her one day Geraldine came to the house looking for Denise, and so when she walked in, then I was just, oh, how you doing, and I was asking her what it's like to work at the social work and stuff like that, and then that's how I wrote the song, you know. All the songs have been a bit like that. Um, I think normally it's probably like the thing that would come through in the writing is like maybe it's not the first thing in your mind that you're walking around with all day, but it might be like two thoughts back, the one that's hanging about somewhere back there, and that a lot of the time would come through the music, you know, that I'm writing.
So is it with these songs about social ills? You've spoken about prisons and young offenders institutes and absent fathers. Is it a need or a want to sort of feel like you're contributing to society or making a difference, or trying to translate these issues to a wider audience through music, or was it just that was your lived, some lived experience, that was something that caught your attention or inspired you in some way?
No, not at all. It's basically like it's just as I said before, it's like just things that just keeps popping back into your thoughts quite a lot, you know, for different reasons. But you would, it's just thoughts that keep popping back, you know. But I never thought. The thing is, it's like I remember when I wrote Daddy's Gone, I didn't want to put it on the first album, um, because it was just like a 3 minute snapshot of something that's more complex. You know what I mean? For me, and um, it was kind of like only a few angles or something that had much more angles to it. But I didn't want to put it in the album because I thought I thought maybe my auntie would hear it, and then maybe they would be disappointed or something like that because I wrote that song. But that's as far as I thought. Like, I never thought any further ahead than that. That I was contributing anything to society or anything else like that. You know, I wasn't thinking that far ahead. You know what I mean?
Well, did you think that when you wrote these songs when you're unemployed, that they would take you around the world on tour, be nominated for a Mercury Prize, #2 in the UK charts?
Probably half of me knew all that and expected it because I'm a I'm a dreamer. I'm a total dreamer, and the other half of me is still quite confused at that. You know, uh, still quite confused that anybody would like a song. You know what I mean? And then the other half of me is quite aye. That's the other part of me that's a dreamer that it seems so familiar that happened because that's the way that you maybe dream it to happen. You know what I mean?
And talk to us about those couple of years that sort of it all changed for you. You went on tour with U2, Kings of Leon. What were those days like?
Uh, it was really good, really good. They were really kind people, and they were really good bands. You know what I mean? You get to see a band each night. You've got a different. I don't know. You get to notice a lot of other qualities that they've got. You know what I mean? And it was great. It's great just hanging out with other bands as well. All great characters and personalities. Aye.
Was it the rock and roll lifestyle that we all imagine it to be? Did you embrace that as well?
Aye, aye. I mean, I think the thing with you too was that it was. I remember growing up and standing outside Celtic Park with a football, like kicking it around, and I could hear you too. You know, for the stadium and all that, and it's a lot of the songs you would similar to Oasis. It was whether you would look for the music or not. You would hear it, car windows, cars passing by. You hear it coming out the window, or you know, it'll find you somehow. And you too was like that. So playing the gigs, it was quite a like you know I don't know, quite a lot of you're like, how did this happen? You know, you're in Wembley or something like that, and it was good. It was good.
You even got William Shatner to be a part of your video for If. Did he just love
Aye.
your sort of spacey wall of sound?
I think he was probably in the studio that day, and, I think that he was in the studio, and I think that somebody got him to read it out probably. But it was quite psychedelic that.
Here at Virgin Radio, we're obviously incredibly excited about the upcoming Oasis tour. Tell us about the days that you toured with Oasis, because Glasvegas supported Oasis on one of their last ever tours before they split up.
Aye, must have been. Aye, it was great. It was great. I think that the first night was in Munich. The tour bus had broke down, so we just got to the venue. We had to go straight on the stage. And but when I was standing at the side of the stage, I noticed there was somebody. It was like really dark at the side, and there was a guy standing over at the side, you know, and it's like Rab said, "Oh, that's Liam over there," and I said, "All right," and he was like, "All right," and then I says, "You all right?" And he was just like, "I know, I'm just making sure that the band that you're okay, get on the stage and all that," and I just thought that was um, the first kind of times that we'd met. I'd met him one time just briefly before that, but just and then from that it was just like a bunch of things. It's like really um, kind people. You know what I mean? Really funny, and it was just a good laugh. You know, where I was just hanging out after the gigs or whatever. And I love listening to the songs, you know, the sound check even. You know, it'd be like a sound check in like, I don't know, somewhere in Europe. And Noel would be singing Don't Look Back in Anger. And it was just, when you see people sound checking, sometimes you're just like, wow.
So
Aye.
a private concert for yourself of your heroes.
Just, aye, when there's no fuss, there's nothing about, and you can just tune into the thing that they're doing, and it's just like, aye, it's pretty good. You know what I mean? Pretty amazing. And but aye, they were just really lovely people, funny and really cool. And you know, I think the last night was in Paris when my mum and Rab's mum came, they're twin sisters, and Liam was just like, "Oh, your mum's are here and stuff like that." I says, "Yeah," and he says, "Where are they?" And so he came down to the dressing room and he was sitting there. My mum was just like talking away to him for like so long, man, and I could just sort of hear like some stories over my shoulder. Yeah, I could just hear like tiny bits of what she was saying. And I looked around and it's like Liam sitting there, like kind of really, really lovely guy, man. And sitting there with his glass of wine and kind of looking at my mum, and my mum's just purely yapping away.
We're telling all the embarrassing stories of you growing up.
She was telling him a bunch of stories, and I think I seen Liam's wine going further and further down. And then it's another bottle. My mum's still like, my mum was saying, "Oh, I could just hear it at one point. Actually, I heard her saying, James came home one day, and he got his unemployment money, and that was to last him for 2 weeks. And he came home and said, I got a ticket for Oasis." And I said to James, "Where's the ticket?" James said, "You'd not believe this, Liam." James said, "I've not got the ticket, but somebody's going to give me the ticket." Liam, I told him, "You've been robbed. You have been robbed." And I just seen Liam just still sitting there, the bottle of wine going, like, I did get the ticket and I did go to the gig, but it's all good.
Well, what did Oasis say to a boy growing up in Glasgow?
It was a few times where my sister put on Oasis. I was quite late getting into it, and music and stuff like that, but my sister played one of the songs on. She had this wee ghetto blaster, and when she played Oasis on it, it was like I'd heard her playing loads of other music in that same ghetto blaster. When she played this, it was like the way that I've got it in my memory is it was almost like a cartoon or something where the ghetto blaster was like dancing. It was doing something different from what it had done with all the other songs that she'd played. And then I'd seen Oasis on the TV playing on Top of the Pops, and then that's when I knew that's what I was meant to. I was meant to do that, you know. And at school as well, there was a guy that used to sing "Slide Away" before I knew any of the Oasis songs or anything like that, and he used to sing it obviously a cappella in the playground. And I used to think, what's that he keeps singing? Like that song. He was singing it all the time. And then I heard the actual song. And it was like black and white in the playground. And then it was like Technicolor when I heard the music behind that. And it kinda blew my mind.
A lot of people won't know that you were also discovered by Allan McGee, who discovered Oasis in King Tut's Wawa Hut in Glasgow, where they were discovered.
Aye, it's, I know.
It's a very similar story.
That's when I really that was the night that I stopped playing football as well. And it was like really pelting a rain, and I was in the car park and out round the back, and I was on the phone, and the manager was like, you know, "Don't come back." I was like, right, and then I went down the stairs, we went on the stage, and we played the gig, and Allan came up, you know, to the side of the stage after the show, and I was like, this is weird, really something familiar about all this, but and then we've been like friends ever since, you know.
So literally one door closed and another door opened in the same night for you.
Aye. It was quite strange. Aye, exactly.
And Glasvegas, you've said before, Rab in the band is your cousin. You're a family band in the same way to Oasis. Does it erupt in the same way? Fiery relationships?
I think it's different with brothers. I think we are like brothers, but our mums are twins, so it's like we're closer than cousins. But but I think it must be different with brothers. I think, you know what I mean. I we don't we don't nah, we don't really have any. It's not really between us. Maybe it is. Maybe it's, but it's no. I don't think it's the same intensity as what brothers normally have. You know what I mean?
Did you get to see that fire relationship up close when you were on tour? The sort of brotherly tension, the headbutting?
No, just it was. To me, it was the opposite. You know, how close they were. Because they are brothers. You know what I mean?
So was it surprising when it all sort of came to a head? Did you think, oh, didn't see that one coming?
No, not really either, because they're brothers. So but no, and I think even when they stopped playing it, it was like I think a lot of people were like, Oasis should get back together. Oasis should get back together. This is rubbish. They need to get back together, and I was like, no, they don't. Like, they've gave us enough. If they get back together, then great. You know what I mean? But they've gave us plenty in the past, and as long as they're happy doing it, then that's good. You know what I mean? So I'm really glad that they're back together. Aye.
Well, Glasvegas are back on tour this year. What can we expect from the shows?
This is the part where I'm supposed to sell it now. I'm really going to be bad at this. Really out of tune, loud, annoying, out of time songs.
And you say you've got more to be announced on your website. Any chance that you'll be getting the call up to play the Scottish dates for Oasis?
No, I don't think so. I keep in touch with Noel and all that, but no, I'd be happy. I'd be just happy to be able to, like, you know, like, watch some of the shows. I enjoy going to watch Noel playing and saw Liam playing and all that, and it's brilliant. So I'd be quite happy with that.
Going back to you in Glasvegas, last album obviously Godspeed. It took almost 10 years to finish. It's now had time to diffuse and be digested. How do you think fans have taken to it so far?
Was it 10 years? Was that how long it was?
I think
I think everybody's just pretending. I think even the band and all that, they keep adding years on all the time, and that's basically a dig at me taking so long to, like, make it, write it, and all that. So, well, let's just say it was 10, right? Let's say 9, right?
9, right? Almost 10.
I think that I think that we probably released it during the COVID thing, so that was a wee bit weird, a wee bit strange or whatever. But I think that people have enjoyed it, you know. I'm not really sure. I think the thing is, it's like, yeah, obviously you go on tour and stuff like that, and you meet a bunch of people that come to the shows that really like the songs and stuff like that. You know, so they're like, they're always going to let you know how much they enjoy and stuff like that. But with that, I'm not really sure. I think, you know, hopefully the, you know, people could kind of get it or whatever.
And you produced and you mixed it and you engineered it, you had a hand in everything. Maybe that's why it took so long. Are you over that sort of process?
Aye, I'm over it, totally. You know what I mean? It's like, I think there's certain things that's okay about the production and stuff like that, but the other side's the engineering and all that, and I'm not very good at things like that, like labeling things and keeping things in order. I'm not very good at that, and you know, you end up getting really like agitated at the smallest things and overwhelmed with the smallest things. And when you need to write Paul bass, amp, room, comp, 110 or something like that, it makes you want to like it makes you want to bludgeon somebody with a Rickenbacker bass, you know what I mean? And it's not his fault. It's just that I'm not very good with things like that. So, aye, I think that but it's cool sort of. I just having the independence, no matter where you are, you can sort of just like kind of do a bit of it and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But it's quite a lot. I think with this one, I think the engineering side, I think I'll retire for the engineering this time at least, and then I'll see about production and all that, and you know what I mean. I don't know if I'll
You
produce it. And
you always
I'd
have
be
had
quite.
a hand. Sorry.
Yeah, you're right. I always have for the first, and I think it would be quite good just to actually have that. I quite like the companionship as well, and the sort of you know, hanging out and rather than just when you're doing it on your own kind of thing. I think both is quite cool, you know what I mean? But I think it'd be quite good to have somebody else's sort of a personality involved in it, you know what I mean?
Well, you've had a hand in the visual elements of the band, the production, as you said. Are you a bit of a control freak when it comes to Glasvegas? Is that what you'd say?
Well, in my mind, no, but when I step back and look at the reality of the thing, it's a total dictatorship in it. It's like, you know what I mean? Totally Date James's way, and that's the only way. It, it's, I think that with the band, they're quite, I think they're quite unusual in some ways as to how much they encourage me. I think other bands are probably quite like, you know, I think they're at each other more, and they're just like, I'm doing it better than you. And whereas with them, they're just like, they don't want to. There's certain things that they just don't want to. But it's not that they're not interested.
And when you write a song, you always seem to present it in a certain way. Does it come with a vision? Because you're very in tune with how it should look as well as how it should sound.
Aye, sometimes, and sometimes it would come a bit quicker than other times. But a lot of the time, it just feels like, for the way that my memory's telling me that it is, that it always just feels like you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing, and then it's almost like you trip over something and you find the thing you've been looking for. And it feels like that was just lucky. You know what I mean? That's what that's just because you're the one that's involved in it, that's the way you see it. But I guess that can't really be true. But that's what it feels like in a lot of ways, you know what I mean? But that's what you tell yourself. Oh, that was lucky, that was lucky, that was just totally lucky, that one. Didn't mean for that to happen, or that was lucky, but it really can't be like that, I guess. But then there is other times, and it's probably quite brief, fleeting moments where something will come really quick, and something will come really quick, and it'll be really clear straight away. You know what I mean? And you feel like, oh, I'm getting quite good at this, and then that goes away. You're back to, I don't know what I'm doing, looking to trip over something to find the answer. You know what I mean? That's most of the time, I think. That's what it feels like for me.
So the new song "Shake the Cage" for Theo on the new album, it seems like a reference, or it sounds like a reference to the Choose Life speech and Trainspotting. Are these conscious decisions? Because you reference songs like "You Are My Sunshine" and "Flowers and Football Tops" and "Road to Nowhere" and "If," and even the Van Gogh album cover of your first album. Are these all conscious references where you sort of want to just sprinkle sort of a pop cultural lineage throughout the band?
It's a good question. I don't know if it's like how conscious it is, how an idea would come, how much it is just instinctive. how much it feels like it's just meant to be like that. You know what I mean? And it even, you know, it's on paper, it doesn't really make sense, but to you, it's like it makes sense. You know what I mean? I think a lot is maybe just like that. It's like you're just, you know, just in like a daydream or whatever, and then it's you start to imagine something being a certain way, or it's meant to be like this way. You know what I mean? And then when you have that idea in the past of you know, You're My Sunshine or stuff like that, it's I don't know. I really don't know why why I would why that would be. Like, but it's the same as the songs. It's like I don't really know why they would be either. They just sort of happen. You know what I mean?
Even in the early days, especially your look, it was the black coiffed back hair, it was the sunglasses on it, seemingly at all times. You know, this is a reference to Elvis or Jesus and Mary Chain. Were they conscious as well?
I love doo-wop music and rock and roll music for the past, and there's always been something really, really familiar anytime I've heard rock and roll for the 50s and doo-wop music and stuff like that. I love a lot of movies for that time as well. And growing up, my mum would listen to Roy Orbison a lot. So with the sunglasses, so I thought it's almost like I don't know. There's certain things that you'd end up just wearing, and it just feels like, oh, this is me. You know what I mean? And there's other things I'd wear, and I think, oh man, I can't make this work. This doesn't work. So it just so happened that that look that we had, that just felt, oh, this is us. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's maybe just the things for the past that we loved. But I remember the first pair of sunglasses that I got was like for Tam Shepherd's, the Joke Shop, because I couldn't afford, like, I don't know, fancy ones or whatever. And I used to wear these bloody things, man, and it's like, you know what I mean? It's like they're just meant to be for like parties or whatever, and I'd be wearing them out in the summer. You know what I mean? Retinas in my eyes, pure like burning. You know what I mean? No UV, but nothing like that. You know what I mean? It's certain. It's like anything that, like, you know, anybody wears. It's like certain things that you just feel quite, oh, this is me.
And when can we expect to hear these new songs?
No 10 years. Definitely no 10 years.
Well, you're coming up to 4 already since the last one, so.
You're counting. You're as bad as the band, by the way. I thought I would get a break for all that, you know what I mean? And I'm coming in here to do this, and then I'm getting the same things that I get when I'm going to like stop this interview. But I would think hopefully at the beginning of the year, next year. You're looking at me like, aye, right.
Yeah, I know.
I know that.
How you usually work. And what is next for Glasvegas? What are you wanting to achieve? You've had the charts, you've had the Mercury Prize nomination, you've done these huge tours. What are you trying to now create with Glasvegas as your sort of longer term legacy?
Hits, number one, stadiums everywhere, in every corner, every tiny corner of the planet. Stadiums, hits, number ones, awards, shiny awards, trophies.
Well, James, thank you very much for joining Virgin Radio today. Can't wait to hear the new music, and all the best.
Nice speaking to you.